crypto cybercrime is just about, it's going to become a tsunami in the next few months. And if you look at crypto thefts, for example, these rose from 3.3 billion in 2021 to 4 billion in 2022 to an estimated 27 billion in 2023. And the big thing is that in the past, as I say at the bottom of the slide, adult entertainment, which we don't talk about, drove digital innovation. So things like streaming, digital payments, and all of these other things that have come about, really driven by adult entertainment, the thing we don't talk about. What's happened now is there's this explosion of cybercrime, and it's going to drive innovation in the next few years on the internet. So you've got a lot of things like experts, real experts in blockchain technology are now breaking blockchain infrastructure, encryption and security. And they're not just stealing, $200, they're getting away with billions. Then you've got criminal software. Cybercrime criminals are using ChatGPT to actually write criminal programs that they then use in their crimes. In data science, which we've been using for customer profiling, thieves are now using this to actually profile victims, for example, in things like romance scams. But probably the most, you might say, frightening is the sort of industrialization of cybercrime, where you've got criminals are collaborating, but they're also working with rogue governments like North Korea to take cybercrime to a whole new level. Perhaps the thing that's attracted most attention is so-called deep fakes. And we're all familiar now with text that you can be generated to be anything plausible in a textual form. And people are using these obviously for sending phishing emails and the like to potential victims. And now we get into the more frightening things. Somebody rings you up, they record 3 seconds of your conversation. Maybe it's just you saying this is the wrong number. And then they can turn that speech into anything that they want you to say. And that's with just 3 seconds of recording. Fake avatars, they're now creating fake influencers, romance scams, and also fakes of celebrities and politicians. But moving on, you're now getting systems where you can actually generate a fake video where you've put words into politicians or celebrities' mouths that they would never say. The obvious one, the Russians might generate one to say that President Biden says we should no longer be funding the Ukrainians' war, something like that. And what we're on the threshold of is being able to have a Zoom chat like this, where you have an avatar of a real person, and it can actually interact with you and generate any conversation that you want. But it's totally fake. And this is what underpins many of the most, you might call frightening cybercrimes. A little bit about my history. Most of my work has been in the financial software area, automation area. 25 years ago, we built the first insider dealing detection system for the London Stock Exchange, and then we pioneered financial fraud detection. 18 to 20 years ago, we built the first algorithmic trading platform with one of the big banks, and then we built a ton of these. I've done a lot of work in regulation, and I'm actually credited with coining the term RegTech. And now, obviously, you've got decentralized finance and also finance using ChatGPT technology. That said, if you look the big opportunities, the 27 billion a year opportunities, where I should be doing is becoming the Professor Moriarty of cybercrime. This is where things are going to drive innovation, as I said. In parallel, I've had a lot of advisory work for foreign governments, particularly in Asia, on innovation technology. So I'm very interested in the whole realm of innovation. And when you get something new like blockchain or something new like generative AI, there's a sort of, you might call happy time if you're a criminal, where there's no regulation, no laws, and you can do lots of things that subsequently become illegal. So, for example, at the moment, one of the projects we've got is building an algorithmic sports betting platform, basically algorithmic trading for sports betting. And if you look, algorithmic trading is heavily regulated. So things that used to go on like spoofing, front running, all of these sorts of things now banned. If you look at sports betting, they're still all legal, or not necessarily legal, but they certainly aren't regulated. So cybercrime, is going to drive all this innovation and have a happy time until it's closed down. What are the major challenge? It's clearly awareness. We tend to think of crime as maybe somebody, mugging somebody, or somebody, going into a bank with a gun. But the rewards probably 1 billion times more, in using deep tech for cybercrime. So you've got all these new and AI and emerging technologies. The cyber criminals are becoming very sophisticated and exploiting it. The information security technology is playing catch up, and the law enforcement think of crime as catching a mugger, on the high street. So awareness is the big thing, and for everybody, including companies. So, what is cybercrime? Well, there's obvious things like criminal activity carried out using computers or the internet. So there's targeting devices, phishing, DOS ransomware, denial of service ransomware. But there's also using devices as tools, where you've got things like deep fakes. And then you sort of get into the grey area, which is rather annoying, what they call dark practices. And this is utilities harvesting your bank account, so that one day I found out that my energy provider had managed to extract £600 of my money into their bank account for energy that I might use in the future, or somebody trying to sell you overpriced insurance. Then you've got what's called dark content, misinformation, things like on the dark web used by criminals, and an increasingly sort of deviant content that, is sort of probably the next generation of adult entertainment. And then there are things that aren't yet regulated, but probably will be regulated, like digital addiction, and particularly things like online betting, computer games, etc., maybe even shopping. And then we get down into the things like institutions and government organization using it, promoting a message on social and political an agenda, on the internet. Surveillance, using subversion to actually influence the outcome of elections. And then you've got sort of things that we sort of joke about, like predictive policing for the future, identifying potential illegal activities. All of these are sort of the subject of intense media debate. What about the future? You've got algorithms, and particularly the discussion of algorithmic superintelligence, algorithms that are just, a lot better at doing things than humans. And sometimes they talk about these algorithms as actually occurring in the next 5 years. And then the next day you read about some clever algorithm doing something in the national newspapers. And in the short term, you've got feral algorithms because these things evolve unintentionally. They can corrupt, they can conspire, etc., but they don't know what they're doing. And then you've got criminal algorithms where you've got criminals actually creating algorithms to actually do crimes. And the problem is that all of the sort of law enforcement is always done within a particular jurisdiction, whereas cybercrime is often global and the people perpetrating it could be anywhere in the world. So it's a, as I say, a whole new ball game. So just to summarize, you've got the globalization of cybercrime, and law enforcement are trying to catch up. Probably you need to globalize law enforcement. So traditional crime, humans and institutions. Future crime, algorithms, avatars, androids, and organizations that are global. Catching the people, retrospective analytics, just as in regulation. You're collecting data, you find a crime, you go and find them. If we're going to catch cyber criminals, we're going to have to move to sort of real-time analysis. Excuse me. Information, it used to be data. Information in the future are going to be natural language texts, images, speech, video, etc. Interventions, identifying cybercrime activities retrospectively. We're going to see previous patterns we never saw before. And before we actually recognize, what's happening, they've made their money and moved on. Jurisdictions going from national to global, and devices going from traditionally computers and smartphones to all sorts of smart devices, which even could be machines, IoT infrastructures, etc. So it's a sort of globalization is the point I'm trying to make here. The other thing, as I mentioned in the introduction, is cybercrime is industrializing. So you've got regimes, like North Korea, Iran, etc. They're actually engaging with criminals to both engage in, making money, like the North Korean Lazarus crime syndicate, which they deny obviously having any involvement in, to where other countries are actually using criminals to even kill opponents. So let's talk about the cybercrime ecosystem, sophistication. This is to do with criminals becoming more collaborative, specialized, and are actually using innovations to prevent their crime. Collaborating between state-sponsored operatives and cyber criminals. Cyber attacks, are they for making money, or are they just attack on, like denial of service attack on infrastructures? They're becoming more expensive and so on. Botnets, or malware tools. There's I think there's tools like fraud GTP and crime GTP, which will help you write your cybercrime programs to do criminal activities. And the threat. So all of a sudden, it's all organizations of all sizes are in danger. And most people, apart from the criminals, are just unaware of the extent that cybercrime is occurring. As we've seen, the ramp up between maybe 4 billion in 2022 to something like 25 billion or 27 billion in 2023. The other big thing is that traditionally you've had criminals live in a particular jurisdiction. Now you've got algorithms. These are anonymous humans, algorithms, avatars, androids, even companies. And these are going to be extremely difficult to detect. because they're very advanced. They're driving AI. You're going to be looking in real time to detect and prevent anomalies. You've got the need to do authentication, and probably what we need in the future, and this is sort of long-term research, is the need for a new class of machine learning algorithms with some built-in understanding of bias and ethics, fairness, etc., which humans have and we take for granted, but algorithms, don't have this ability. So cybercrimes, it just goes on and on. They're used for extortion, they're used for terrorism, they're used to produce dark content, which can be anything from deep fakes trying to make money to your established companies just trying to bend the rules a little bit and harvest money from you. Deep fakes, you've got digital addiction in areas, particularly like betting, but also in things like computer games. Governments using cybercrime or cybercrime technologies to exploit market vulnerabilities or, cause economic problems for other countries. Misinformation. Next year we've got the UK elections and also the American elections. So the rise of misinformation is everybody expects it to be huge. Social manipulation. At the moment, there's a huge amount of political social manipulation by countries who are pushing their particular agendas. Social surveillance. This can be things like China's social credit system, or it could be the rise of CCD cameras. And then finally, you've got all these new smart weapons, which are powered by AI. So the definition of what is a cybercrime is very, very broad. So when you talk about AI, which is the one that gets all the publicity, you tend to forget all of the other emerging technologies. And you've got a sort of technology stack of them. So you've got the metaverse. And in the metaverse, you can have avatars, some of which are well-intentioned, a virtual friend. And increasingly, you'll get avatars that are criminal. What we call agents are moving from humans to algorithms. There are things like chatbots that are becoming increasingly sophisticated, where you've got conversational AI. There's decentralized applications, which is a very important technology. Blockchain, where you're being used for automation. And if you can actually crack the encryption in a blockchain network, the potential financial rewards are clearly enormous. And then you've got things like denial of service attacks on phones, computers, sensors, IoT infrastructure. So, as I said at the beginning, every time there's a new technology, there's a sort of, for the criminals, a happy time when they can exploit the lack of regulation, laws, etc. And governments, the regulators, etc., the police, because of awareness, take a long time to actually decide, actually, this is pretty dangerous. We need to bring in a new law. But then this might take a time of 2 years, by which time the cybercrime has just gone ballistic. So some of the technologies that we need to identify: firstly, artificial intelligence, agents becoming algorithms and avatars, algorithms moving from traditional sort of machine learning systems, which I'll drill down on in a moment, to what they call future algorithmic superintelligence, where the algorithms are just so much better, including crime, than the individuals. And then you've got other technologies like user interfaces, blockchain, decentralized environments like Web 3.0, etc. And you need to, any one of them could be a platform, for an attack on you or your organization. Now, the big thing I'd like to emphasize is the so-called human in the loop. That's AI working in partnership with humans. Now, algorithms are actually very good at data analytics and automation, but they're pretty poor. One of my favorite areas is hallucinations, where they're actually just generating rubbish. And they're very poor also at long-term vision and forecasting. Humans are actually very good at broad insights, spotting hallucinations, but poor at actually doing crunching huge amounts of data. So what we need to do is to build the sort of human in the loop system where you get algorithms to do the heavy lifting and humans to actually spot where the problems are, as again, like emerging cybercrimes. Now we come down to so-called algorithmic or superintelligence, and this tends to happen, faster than we might expect. Now, firstly, because these machine learning algorithms learn, they train themselves and evolve, you could easily end up having a trading algorithm that actually, without and unintentionally, becomes a criminal algorithm because it's just evolved into something that it didn't realize that's actually illegal, like market manipulation. And then you've got the problem of opaque algorithms. You don't know what they're doing, and they're unpredictable. And lastly, you've got, what you might call criminal algorithms that are actually deliberately created, to commit crimes. So just to drill down, because the AI algorithms are, getting all the sort of publicity at the moment. Traditionally, maybe you go back 25 years ago, you had knowledge-based or rule-based systems where you coded up an expert's knowledge in if-then rules. Very simple to read the rules and you understand completely what it's doing, and you can ask it to actually justify its decisions. And these systems are actually used to drive a lot of the call center systems for applying for loans or mortgages. And now we get into the more interesting area of machine learning, that are able to learn and adapt without explicit programming. Now, traditional machine learning is used for automation. You feed in a lot of data and it makes a prediction. And these are the things that have underlined things like algorithmic trading and recommender systems. But what ChatGPT did, truly brilliant marketing exercise, was generative AI. These are so-called large language models where you train these systems on trillions of data points, and the models themselves are huge, and they're able to have either create new content dynamically or engage in a conversational AI, conversational machine learning discussion with you, but not just but sometimes it can tell you a load of misinformation, hence the hallucinations. And then we get on to the so-called future. Artificial general intelligence. These are machine intelligence that can solve problems as well as humans. Arguably, we're already seeing this, particularly in areas like medical consultancy, and the what's called artificial superintelligence. Where does it all go? Where an algorithm is just actually superior to humans across a wide range of problems. And then you've got the sort of, you might call wacky stuff, like Elon Musk's Neuralink, where you can have direct communication between the brain's electrical activity and an external device like a smartphone. The sky's the limit. And with these things, what we're going to see, particularly with generative AI, is a new set of productivity tools. The classic one might be a legal system that generates a draft contract for a partner in a law firm. And then the partner goes through the draft contract and having been alerted maybe to the ambiguities and risks, and then turns it into a proper, say bulletproof contract. Now, the interesting thing where this is going to affect employment is that traditionally these draft contracts have been produced by paralegals and trainee solicitors. So the algorithm is basically going to, do them out of a job. And this is a sort of model that in all the sort of service sector jobs, like accountancy, public relations, advertising, and all of these areas, you will have a sort of human in the loop partnership where and even programming, I should add, which is quite interesting, that no one will write a program from scratch in the future. The algorithm will generate a draft program, and then the program will go through and tidy it up. So the two things to take away from this is that the algorithm will do away with a lot of the more mundane jobs. So the argument in law firms now is, how are we going to get the next generation of legal partners coming through? But you're going to have people coming out of university, for example, who don't know how to use these AI tools. They're going to be unemployable. Now we get back to cybercrime. With cybercrime, criminals will be using these systems to generate programs, to generate advice on how to perform a scam, etc. And it'll be a while, because obviously they're not going to be writing papers or news articles on this before the law enforcement actually realizes what's going on. So we're back to the system is you need to be aware of what's going on, on the dark web and all these other things. So ChatGTP, some of the words you'll hear like chatbot, having a conversation with humans, now becoming interactive. Transformers, these are very large neural networks. And then GPT, generative pre-trained transformers. Large language models, where you're training these models on huge amount of data, often sort of scraped illegally from the web. And then generative AI, where you can have an actual interactive conversation. So blockchain technology claims to be secure, but you've got cryptocurrencies, some of which are scams. And if you can break the cyber cryptography, then you're really a criminal in with huge amounts of money. Now we come back to cyber, in quotes, crime. Now, if you're trying to do a sort of top-down break of this, the types of computer crime, firstly, you've got crimes where the computer is the target. So you've got denial of service attacks. And then you've got crimes where the computer is the tool. And this can range, from phishing right through to romance scams, I guess to Ponzi schemes, all sorts of things. Anyway, if you're interested in this, you can look at our future of cybercrime paper. Devices as targets, just drilling down. So dark content. A lot of the things like deep fakes, anonymous, avatars, influencers, and all of this, it's difficult to say whether it's actually illegal or not. And people would be bending the rules. Then you get deep fakes, which now are sort of, people find them really interesting, but you're going to get people targeting both individuals and companies, and also political situations with these deep fakes. Digital addiction, not legislated at the moment, but probably should be thought of as a sort of crime: online games, betting sites, social media platforms, and particularly like these play-to-earn computer games, which are highly addictive. As I said before, you might even include shopping, which some of the shopping sites, even TikTok, is considered highly addictive. And then you've got things that are clearly illegal, taking control of people's servers, denial of service attacks, attack on infrastructure, etc. And then you've got devices as tools. So you've got cyber espionage, extortion. The sorts of things you can expect is somebody sets up a dark web, deviant internet site, and then people log on and give their details, and then all of a sudden you've got pay up, or we're going to expose you to the world. Dark patterns conducted by legitimate companies trying to trick customers with inflated prices. This will probably either be legislated against, or they're just trying to live dangerously and avoid reputational damage. Probably we'll see a lot of rise in the dark web, data breaches, spyware, etc. One of the biggest areas at the moment is IoT infrastructure, particularly denial of service attacks. And these are distributed networks with very poor information security. So your computer is quite secure, reasonably secure, but and your phone has some protection. But many of the infrastructure, particularly energy and telecoms and that, are really very poorly protected. So we need to upgrade our information security technology. Now, at the moment, on the left-hand side, you've got criminal humans, and on the right-hand side, criminal algorithms. And one set is dealing with smartphones and computers, and the other side is dealing with the sort of decentralized web and IoT security. And anomaly detection, authentication, enforcement, reasonably well in hand. But then we move over to the algorithms. You've got digital identities, trust. Do I trust this website? Do I trust this avatars? And you need sort of real-time, not retrospective detection. So, law enforcement. The problem at the moment is that law enforcement is catching a mugger who's just stolen your wallet for, with £100 in it. Well, no one, or very few people, are working on the cybercrime that's getting away with billions. So what do you do? Again, it's back to awareness. So you need to do horizon scanning. What technologies are going to emerge and how are criminals going to use them? The classic one at the moment being deep fakes. Knowledge transfer. You need to raise awareness amongst the stakeholders of cybercrime. So the police, the judges, the information security companies. So law tech infrastructure, support for national and law enforcement collaboration, because cybercrime is becoming global. You might be hacked by North Korea, and probably more likely than being hacked by somebody, who lives in North London. Predictive analytics, pioneering the use of AI algorithms to analyze massive amounts of data to identify and predict emerging cybercrimes. The other thing that I think is important is that the whole law enforcement and situation is actually based on retrospective prosecution within a particular jurisdiction. Now, when you've got somebody's just to make up about to make off with 1 billion of somebody's money, you need to bring in rapid start laws to actually look at how you can prevent things like the manipulation of social media, for politics or something like that. And therefore, the financial regulators do this to some extent already, but we need general rapid start laws. We can't wait for 2 years to bring in laws to look at cybercrime, for some emerging technology, like, for example, blockchain technology. The other thing that's actually worked very well with the regulators is sandboxes, where you can actually have testing environments where new and untested technologies and software can be run securely. And this is a way of actually trying out new information security technologies to see what happens. Self-reporting. We need to engage with AI and emerging technologies and communities to encourage people to self-report emerging criminal cybercrime trends. We can't wait anymore for a year or so before we realize what's happening. And then lastly, what's worked particularly well with the financial regulators are these tech sprints or hackathons, where you can actually try out new technology for regulation, detection of crime, enforcement, the judiciary, etc. So you need to be aware. Awareness is the key thing, and your organization needs to be aware. And the only thing you can say is that with each of these new emerging technologies, the opportunities for cyber criminals before they're closed down is immediate and hugely valuable. So, as we say, the genie's out of the bottle. Regulation and law enforcement, awareness, cyber tech awareness, police tech awareness, judicial tech awareness, reg tech awareness. All of these organizations need to be on their toes and actually looking at emerging technologies and trying to work out where the vulnerabilities are and how to address them. So both for what we've got at the moment might be called the AI social revolution. It's going to be important for everybody, and particularly high school students coming out of universities, to be as aware about what AI can do for them as 25 years ago. The IT social revolution meant you needed to be aware of word processing, emails, spreadsheets, etc. So the boards need institutional awareness, and companies like Tesco's are well into this. You need AI professional tools for lawyers, doctors, and programmers. And interestingly, lots of the universities, with successful law tech, economics, etc. departments are totally in denial about these tools. And then you need to use AI and particularly generative AI to train people. So now you can have AI chatbot trainers that can read a textbook, and then you can actually have an interactive discussion with them. So as I said, the biggest problem is awareness, and for boards, for professionals, and particularly for students. And with our own students, if you've got a law faculty that's turning out lawyers and they can't use these tools, they may be unemployable. And as I always say, if you can't ride a bicycle, not even Deliveroo will want to have anything to do with you. So staff need re-education in the technology to understand both the opportunities and, probably I should have said, vulnerabilities rather than weakness. Obviously, this is being recorded, but be very interested when you see this, you can always email me at philiptreleaven.ucl.ac.uk if you've got any questions. As I said, we're on the threshold of a tsunami or cybercrime revolution, and it will drive innovation for the next few years. So be aware. Thank you for listening to my presentation.